Bahalapantes, a magnetizing manly musk, hinted with a splash of lightly sweet floral scents that are native to North America. Perfectly engineered to turn heads and tickle her olfactory nerves. No poles are needed when fishing at the pub, but don't forget the bait. Bahalapantes. A 30 milliliter bottle gives you about 600 modded sprays of this new technology to convenience the alpha man in you. Bahalapantes. Get your bottle today. Bahalapantes. Yo, welcome everyone to Ralph Reads, brought to you by TURN, the United Ronin Networks. My name is Ralph Anthony Garcia, also known as R4, the legal, the loyal, the regal, the royal, Ronin Ralph, your master of ceremonies. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Tell a friend to tune in to TURN, the United Ronin Networks. We are Ronin. Today on Ralph Reads, we shall traverse into the 5th dimension of this Gen 11 classic, Angelites, Body of Persons Empowered. As we arrive at Volume 5, let's not plead the 5th, but instead shoot the gift. Let the reading commence. Part 3, Chapter 33. On the corner of Granite Street stood an arm and a keg, one of the most popular night spots in Hartford, Connecticut. Sporting events displayed on 3 giant flat-screen televisions mounted high above the bar. Greasy-faced sports fanatics yelled and jumped out of their seats. Buckets of chicken bones and half-filled beer mugs on almost every table. Surround sound music. Even on a Wednesday night, the bar was packed. Through the festive scene walked in Natalie Mercedes, dressed in a black fitted sweater and dark denim jeans. Her long black hair flowed behind her shoulders. Bright lightning made her caramel-colored skin shine like a newly waxed Ferrari. Private Investigator engraved on the badge clipped to her belt. Graced with beauty and attitude, her face gave a look telling everyone standing in her path that she was not to be with. "What's up, little lady?" the bartender cheerfully asked as Natalie approached the bar top. "What you drinking? Having a beer or a glass of wine?"
"A Quencher's Gold will be fine,"
she requested.
"Give me the coldest one you got."
"That ain't a problem. I keep them suckers down at the bottom of the cooler, so cold they can freeze the darkest corner of hell."
"Sounds good to me. Hook it up."
The bartender reached into the ice bin and pulled out a frosty bottle of Quencher's Gold. Ice chips slid down its sides as frost smoked off the glass like a lump of meat on a barbecue grill. "Don't get brain freeze now," he said while popping off the cap. "Drink it slow or else your tongue will get numb for several days." Natalie smirked and said,
"I'll take my chances."
She dipped her head back and let the fizzy coldness flow down her throat. Half of the bottle was empty after one drink. The bartender, in his 60s, overweight, no sense of fashion, and working at the bar most nights, couldn't help but let his eyes roll off the curves of her athletic body. However, he switched back to professional mode after noticing the badge. "Hey, he stalled. "Don't think you shouldn't be drinking on duty,"
I won't tell if you won't.
Natalie joked. She looked around the establishment and was amazed at how live the atmosphere was.
Is it normally this packed on weeknights?
Yup, all year round. Surprised none of your people come in here more often. Got the best happy hour prices in town. Purty ladies like yourself come in here all the time and never have problems with the locals, so...
What do you mean by my people?
I meant officers. Sorry about that. You know how firemen sometimes go out drinking after a shift, or army buddies go hanging out when they're on leave. Y'all don't go out with your cop buddies after work?
Nah, the cops I know will only take me to a bar because they're planning to take something else later that night if they can get me drunk enough, you dig? And ain't none of that happening, mister. Not enough beer in the world could rob me of my dignity.
Proud as she is to work in law enforcement, Natalie didn't socialize with cops whatsoever. Locker room talk is usually airing out gossip and frustration, not about taking over the city. It still haunted her. Now she feels like the residents in her community, not knowing which cops to trust. One reason why her private investigation business is thriving is that she works alone. Cases take a little longer to solve, but at least her clients are getting true justice. She still cares about saving lives, helping people. You can say she adopted the people as her siblings since she had no family besides Martha. This would explain why she's so committed.
Thanks for the beer. It hit the spot. You have a good night, and thanks for the chat.
Heading home already, huh? The party's just beginning. How about some food to soak up the beer at least?
That's okay. I pretty much have a cast iron stomach. It'll take more than one bottle to get me drunk. How much I owe you?
The bartender put up his hand and shook his head. On the house. Hey, listen. I got a baseball bat and a pump shotgun if you're worried about anyone trying to take advantage of you. I know you have the badge, but my word's the law in this place.
Didn't you just say the locals know how to behave themselves?
Well, no offense to the ladies in this place, but none of them come close to looking as stunning as you. A man might get tempted, you know.
Yes, too well.
Natalie held up her fists.
It may not look like it, but these knuckles have tapped on plenty of jaws from men who acted on their temptations, you feel me? So don't worry, I can take care of myself.
What if a guy's bigger than you? Natalie flashed a firearm underneath her sweater.
Like the man says, don't leave home without it.
The bartender laughed.
This has all been pretty nice, but I got to get back to work. Maybe I'll see you next time.
Well, listen, little lady, if there is a next time, first round's on me.
I might take you up on that. I ain't making no promises, but I might.
Natalie left the sports bar and walked around the corner to Suede Street, where her pale green Mitsubishi Galant was parked. Muffled sounds of pounding and panting came from inside the trunk. Finding it comical, Natalie sighed as she pressed a key into the lock and opened the hood. Stuffed inside the trunk was a frail Dominican male named Charles Johnson, a middle-aged man going through a midlife crisis. Still wore his pants halfway off his lived in the basement of his grandmother's house, and sold weed out in Brooklyn with guys half his age. But now he's sweating like playing basketball in a suede jumpsuit. 2 pairs of handcuffs behind his back, locking his wrists to his ankles. A dirty rag stuffed in between the gold grills that flashed across his teeth. His knockoff silk shirt was soiled in sweat. He thought doing business far from home would prevent him from getting caught. Tonight, however, he's been found guilty of domestic abuse against his girlfriend Geraldine. Besides flashing large amounts of cash, Charles' youthful features and immature behavior enabled him to hook up with younger women in nightclubs. Geraldine, who lives in Brownsville, met him one night at the Ooh La La Lounge. Using sweet talk and his Spanish accent, Charles made Geraldine believe he was a man with a plan. Instantly, she fell in love. Charles would come to Brooklyn on the weekends to spend time with her, a few hours to be exact. Most of the time, he ran the streets with his boys while Geraldine sat at home and watched television. When Charles finally came home, he had just enough energy to have sex with her before going to sleep. After 2 months of the same routine, Geraldine had enough and confronted him about his neglectful behavior. Charles answered back with hits to her face and cowardly tough guy speeches. "You ain't my wife. I do what I want when I want. You don't like it? That's the door. Who needs you anyway?" Geraldine filed several police reports, but none were ever investigated. The cops were up to their armpits in domestic violence cases, so new ones were placed at the bottom of the pile. Therefore, Geraldine gathered up every penny she could muster and turned to the one superhero most folks could count on. Not only was Natalie as tough as nails, but she had legal permission to serve her brand of justice. What could be a better option?
"Oh, sorry, did I wake you?"
She teased.
"Maybe it's the handcuffs, huh? Cutting into your wrists. Sorry about that, Chico. Sometimes I get a little overzealous and lock 'em too tight. You know how that can happen, right?"
Charles responded with muffled grunts.
"So, I guess you're wondering why I snatched you out from your girlfriend's house, right? Oh, wait a minute. We're in Hartford, and Geraldine lives in Brownsville, right?"
Mockingly, she smacked herself upside the head.
How foolish of me. But now I wonder, who's the bimbo I caught you in bed with? Probably still sleeping there right now. Should I call her up and ask? Yeah, you're right. Be a waste of time, since she's just another you're bumping and grinding with on the side. Must be great being you, huh? Getting the money and the booty for the cost of gas and tolls. Using Grandma's basement as a hideout? Model citizen.
Natalie sat on the car bumper and crossed her legs.
When I took this case, my first glance at you told me you weren't so tough. I mean, any man who would beat on a woman is a first-class punk. Geraldine is a nice girl, but I'm not. You can knock her around because she's not a fighter. You won't dare try that on me, because we both know I'd whip your ass every which way until Sunday and not even think twice about it. However, I'm also a professional. Trust me when I say, you got off easy tonight. Yeah, your thug act is quite convincing, yelling and cursing like a stand-up comedian, dressing all tough. Come to think of it, is this how you so-called tough guys dress?
She awkwardly gawked at his clothes.
Look at your pants, son. Why are they so low? You like brothers checking out your pants, son? You like brothers checking out your underwear? And they be tight, too. What up with that? What's the matter? Can't afford a belt? Or are you the kind of guy who accepts deliveries in the rear? Catch my drift?
She shrugged.
Anyway, thanks to your girlfriend's testimony, not to mention your weekend drug runs with the little rascals, I got you on drug trafficking and distribution charges, as well as domestic violence. You'll be taking that long trip up north where the real gangsters roam.
He stopped squirming. Didn't muffle a peep.
You won't be sleeping like a baby anymore, Sunshine. You may get exactly what you gave to Geraldine. But I wouldn't wear my pants low anymore if I were you. Nighty-night.
Natalie slammed the trunk shut. Charles wiggled inside like a snake caught in a net, staring at total darkness. The next time he'll see light will be from the lampposts of the Hartford Police Headquarters. Another case closed. Another satisfied customer. Time to go home. A couple of hours passed. Traffic was as smooth as silk. A soulful classic by Stevie Wonder, Send Her Your Love, played on the radio. Just crossing the New York border, Natalie heard her phone buzz on the armrest. Not recognizing the number, she assumed it was her anxious client waiting to hear the drama was over. However, she was shocked to hear Judas Lee's voice on the other line.
Why would he be calling at this time of the night?
She thought. Clouds of worry fogged her mind. Pressing the answer button, she intently asked,
What happened, Lee?
The inspector gulped before responding.
Well, first off, how have you been, Miss Mercedes?
What happened?
Okay, let me get right to it. But I want you to try and remain...
Damn it, Lee! Get to the point! I know you're not calling me this late to say that Martha's stranded on a damn highway with a flat tire. Now what the is going on?
Judas remained silent and then blurted,
Martha's dead.
Going numb upon hearing those horrid words, Natalie's car veered off to the opposite lane. She swerved back at the last minute before hitting an oncoming truck. Trying hard to keep her composure, she asked,
Where is she?
EMTs in Sayreville moved her body to the coroner for identification. We need you to...
Natalie hung up and floored the gas, racing to New Jersey as fast as possible.
This must be a mistake,
She denied.
I just spoke to her. How can she be? Don't you leave me, girl!
Martha was the last thread of family she had left. Perhaps they carted in someone who looked like her cousin. Mistaken identity. Not even she believes that theory. Her mind had accepted the inevitable, but her heart wouldn't let hope be distinguished. Chapter 34. It was well past midnight. Natalie cried every last tear her eyes could muster. She sat with the coroner in his office, along with Inspector Lee, discussing the results of his examination. Besides learning about the train crash, Natalie was shocked to hear that bullets were found in Martha's skull. She knew this was a professional kill.
They're going to wish they were dead once I find who did this,
She concluded. As the coroner excused himself from the room, Natalie turned to a silent Judas Lee. Guilt exhibited from his body language as he just stared at the floor.
Tell me about the last assignment she was working on, Lee.
She asked.
I, assumed that, she was heading home and someone must have...
Don't play with me, damn it! Tell me what was she investigating at the office?
Well, again, I assume she must have been working on regular case files, and since she was my top agent, I can also assume that some cases were, I guess harder than...
Are you gonna give me a bald-faced lie and tell me this was a random kill? Seriously? I just f***ing talked to her earlier this evening, and she told me she was up to her eyeballs in paperwork, reviewing the cops who allegedly killed Crispin Pagnucci.
Allegedly.
Yes, I'ma believe it when I see it type of girl. And the way I see it, no conclusive evidence has been brought forward. Otherwise, it'd be all over the news by now. I believe she went for a swim in a piss-infested pool and died for ignoring the no swimming sign. Can't you make that same connection?
Judas dragged his chair next to Natalie and talked more sympathetic.
Mercedes,
He started.
I can only imagine the pain you must be feeling right now. I can. Martha was one of my finest agents.
You said that already.
She interjected.
Besides, I don't need you to tell me how great she was, okay? It runs in a damn family. Now stop telling me things I already know and start telling me things that I don't.
Yes, I apologize. As I was saying, she always worked on high-end profiles of the worst kind of scum we found in the NYPD. Certain departments don't like it, call us sellouts or brown nosers because we rather do our jobs than help protect theirs. Idiots. Martha's first objective was to get the job done. That's been her MO for the past 5 years. Only a matter of time before she made inspector. This is a huge loss, not only for us, but also for her son. I want to assure both of you that her death won't go unpunished. My only regret was refusing her request. Maybe if I would have worked with her on some of those files, then we would have been working late at the office and...
Why did you deny her request?
She wanted classified material on a certain officer, and I failed to help her gain access to it. As a friend, I should have stood by whatever her theories were, but professionally, I was following protocol. However, I did change my mind later on and told her that I'd help her get those files tomorrow, but she left the office before I got a chance to.
What was so classified about this certain cop? You just said she was one of your finest agents, soon to become inspector, may I add. If anyone should be handling classified information, it'd be her, right? Someone who gets the job done, just quoting what you said, and yet she was denied. What is so special about this cop for a top-level agent to be denied access to his file?
I'm sorry, Mercedes. I can't get into it, but it involves my superiors conducting research, and I didn't want to go over their heads. You can understand that, right?
Natalie was unresponsive.
I want to solve this murder as bad as you do. So I'm gonna look back at every case she's ever done, and maybe I can find a connection that'll support your theory.
What theory? I never said I had a theory yet. What I am saying is my cousin was brutally murdered, and I want some damn answers. So I'm just asking questions. Isn't that what investigators do? That's what any normal person would do to get answers, right?
You know what I think? You should be brought in on this investigation. Work with us.
No.
Natalie stomped toward the door.
You work by the book. I don't. If I find anything that could be helpful, I'll give you a call.
Mercedes, I think this will go a lot smoother if we work together on this. Let us combine our resources and turn this city upside down to shake these cowards out. We can both avenge Martha's death and bring some closure to both of our lives.
With all due respect, Inspector, you'll only slow me down. Excuse me.
Chapter 35. Natalie dragged her feet through her apartment building lobby an hour later. Seeing smudged mascara on her face, the doorman asked what was wrong. "Can I get anything for you, Miss Mercedes?" he asked. Heading straight for the elevator like a zombie, she apologetically responded.
I'm not in a talking mood right now.
She slumped into the elevator and pressed a 7th floor button, burying her head in the corner during the ride up. When the elevator doors split open, she noticed a package propped up against her door. Her depressive trance had broken.
What's this?
She thought while examining the package. Her name was on the front, but no return address above it. Could be junk mail. Losing her enthusiasm, she tucked the package under her arm like a football while flipping through her ring of keys. Track lighting lit up the living room like a rock concert the moment she entered her apartment. She tossed the package on the coffee table and stepped on her heels to pull the sneakers off her feet. Slouching toward the bedroom, she pulled off her clothes and threw them on the bed. A black Brooklyn Nets jersey, along with a pair of heather gray gym shorts, were taken from her workout clothing, folded in the bottom dresser drawer. Shock, anger, disgust. Every thought instilled within her brain mixed with unstable emotions. Her best friend, sole family member, gone. She wanted to crawl under the covers and cry some more, but the anger, boiling in the pit of her stomach, wouldn't allow her to waste time. 2 new messages were left on her answering machine. According to the caller ID, none of them were from Martha's ex-husband. Does Samuel even know? It doesn't matter. He was a waste of flesh anyway, but how was she going to break the news to Henry? One thing she wanted to give him was retribution after saying the persons responsible are behind bars or 6 feet under. Therefore, Natalie held off talking to Henry until that day came to pass. First message came from her cousin Rhonda.
It's been a while, Nat. Mind if we talk someday? Later.
She quickly pressed the delete button. The second message, however, made her gasp. It came from Martha.
Listen, I left you a little Christmas present. Please don't open it until I get there. Explain later. Love you.
Her heart sank because she's not coming. Not ever.
The package.
Natalie ran to the living room and ripped the top of the envelope open. She dumped a memory stick and printouts onto her computer desk. Fluttering down lastly was a post-it note. It had Martha's handwriting.
You're the only one I trust. Very important.
Could that be the reason for her death? Evidence? Freshly brewed hazelnut-flavored coffee fragranced the entire apartment. Natalie had been working for hours, scavenging through the files to uncover the missing link. Flipping through the stack of papers, she noticed the same name highlighted. John Hart. Opening her arms as wide as an eagle's wings, she stretched the tiredness out of her back, cracking a few bones in her neck as well. Taking a long gulp of her hot beverage, Natalie rethought her path of investigation. The printouts would be deemed circumstantial if she submitted them to the FBI as evidence. Let's bring it back a bit. She flipped back to the first page and hoped to stumble upon an inkling that was unwittingly passed over. Hart's last few cases were considered to be the biggest of his career. But hold on a sec. His medical reports seemed shady. His last one was taken last year after arresting mafia boss Ralph Pisano. Large amounts of alcohol and cocaine were traced in his bloodstream. Yet, he got assigned another case in a matter of days. In fact, he'd been awarded the most undercover operations in his department.
Is this guy that good? Or just plain lucky?
She wondered. Reading his psychological profile, he's been recorded for multiple acts of recklessness and insubordinate behavior.
How is he still on the force?
She questioned.
Who approved this review?
Her eyes rolled to the top corner of the page.
Oh my God!
Coffee exploded on the floor as the mug slid from her fingertips. It was Judas Lee. Could he have ordered the hit? No. His body language seemed disheartened, more like putting on an act than hiding guilt.
The mafia hits had to be inside jobs. Hart did the dirty work and Lee cleaned up his tracks. Martha got close to the truth and they killed her for it.
Rage told her to put a hole in Lee's head, but her cop instincts proved a voice of reason. Proof. anything to connect both Hart and Lee to the assassination. Impossible, but doable. From out the kitchen rang the house telephone. Since her number was private, it had to be Jill Spicoli, Natalie's office manager and part-time assistant. She called Jill earlier to dig up any skeletons Detective Hart might have carelessly buried. Although not physically fit as Natalie, Jill is a 5'7" slender, young Italian woman who loved this kind of work. Brilliant enough to be a special agent, but her ego was too big to follow any kind of protocol. Working with Natalie was a dream job, serving justice with no jurisdiction. Her abilities are used to the fullest potential, and she answers to only one boss, a woman she greatly admired. Natalie knew she was a character from the day she hired her, from her round glasses and cute freckles down to the color of her chin-length hair, which changed almost every month. Currently, it's dark purple. The rest of Natalie's staff consisted of 2 other investigators, Tyrone Smith and Cornelius Bennett, and an in-house counsel, Coral Nunez. Though they're all good at what they do, Jill is the most dependable employee. Therefore, she's the only one the private eye would entrust such classified information with.
What's up, Jilly?
Natalie answered.
Got something for me?
Yup.
Jill responded.
Just found a huge needle within the gigantic haystack our super cop currently has riding on his scrawny shoulders. And it's good. Lay it on me, girl. Okay, I started working backward and searched through police detail on the precinct raid Hart conducted earlier. Unbelievably, a public access news crew was the first to arrive on the scene, and they filmed the entire thing from beginning to end. Are you for real? So for real. So for real. Physical traction ain't my thing, but for you, I made an exception. With a few whiffs of airs, mixed in with some clicks and key taps, I discovered the warehouse where they broadcast their show from. Seeing how I look, they automatically thought I was some lonely blogger looking for some followers or conjure up some clickbait. Therefore, since they considered me a non-threat, are you ready for this? They gave me the entire footage! All of it! Unedited!
Natalie gasped.
Jill? You better not tell me that you'll get it to me first thing in a... Check your email.
Jill sighed. Natalie logged onto her account and Jill's message was on top of the inbox. She clicked it open and found an attached zip file. Jill whistled the theme of Charlie's Angels as she patiently waited on the other line. As the zip file downloaded onto her desktop, Natalie asked,
Will this show me anything related to who Martha's killer might be? Not really,
said Jill.
but I'm sure you could find a loose end amongst the chaos. So many things happen at once with so many people around, I doubt Hart was able to keep everything and everyone in line. I know there's something in here you could use against him, but my eyes aren't as keen as yours. That's why you're the boss.
Downloading completed. Natalie opened the footage and clicked the play button. Despite the wobbly camera, it showed excellent picture quality. Simultaneously, Jill played her footage copy on her laptop, working together on finding the loose end. John Hart was seen storming the gates like King Leonidas, leading his army to battle. Natalie skipped ahead a few minutes at a time, viewing the implausible turmoil occurring on the streets.
Hold it!
Jill excitedly shouted.
Skip to the 15-minute mark!
Natalie hit the pause button and clicked to the middle of the timeline. About the 15:25 mark, there came the advantage Jill spoke of. The camera viewed the side of the precinct, and even though it was for a split second, Natalie caught the cop who escaped the raid.
Did you see that?
She shouted.
Yep.
Jill responded.
Not all of them were caught. Have they played this video on their news program yet? Not only did they play it, but they sold copies to all the major news networks. It's safe to say that state and city police are hunting for this guy right now. Let them try. I'm getting him first. How? The footage barely shows his face. Not even mainstream media would be able to identify this guy, if that's even a guy. Well, I doubt a pudgy white woman would drop out of a window from the second floor, but hey, Who am I to discriminate? Anyway, we have no names, no numbers, or no leads. What possible plan could you concoct that'll guarantee you'll get this cop first? Jill, what's my name?
She laughed and responded,
You're Natalie Mercedes, the woman who delivers 10 times out of 10. Exactly. I'm getting him first.
Though still heartbroken, she was thrilled that her ride down the road of vengeance had quickly gained momentum.
This is phenomenal, Jilly. Thank you. For you? Anytime. Besides, you didn't hire me for my attractive good looks.
Natalie hung up the phone and thumbed through the printouts again. Being such an outstanding agent, Martha not only printed out the entire manifest, but she attached her list of cops red flagged by Internal Affairs. Comparing both lists, she noticed the tally on John's list was one number less than Martha's.
Got him!
She shouted. There was one name John failed to report. Not very smart detective work. She took a red marker and circled the name of the officer on the run. The one who can maybe prove the city's golden detective was truly a deranged killer. Tomorrow, the hunt begins for Officer Don Crass. Chapter 36. Hours passed and Natalie had been working nonstop. After researching news reports, talking with Don Crass's ex-wife, and checking in with her usual informants around the city, sources led her to the Fordham Road section of the Bronx. There's a 6-story abandoned apartment building number 696, what locals have labeled as the neighborhood crack house. Faded bricks and broken windows from top to bottom. Brown grass sprouted from the courtyard. Rats can be seen scurrying across the lobby behind the dated graffiti smudged on the plexiglass front doors. Unshaven mugs with sunken eyes popped out the second-floor window every few minutes like a bird in the cuckoo clock. Supposedly, after accidentally killing a kid one night on patrol a few years ago, Don developed a drug addiction, contributing to the end of his marriage. Since Don needed to stay below the radar, he figured the local cops would never come to this side of town.
Perfect cover,
Natalie thought as she walked through the unsettled neighborhood. She donned her outfit for this hunt, wearing a fitted black hooded sweater, black jeans, and a gray trench coat. Her long wavy hair was left undone. Believing she'd be doing more running this time, she had black Nikes strapped on her feet. She parked her car several blocks away. Walking to the building, she threw the hood over her head to avoid unwanted attention. Without making it halfway through the courtyard, a Mexican crackhead already started hissing at her. She got verbally attacked by a lame come-on line. "Oh yeah, mommy," the crackhead hissed through his teeth. "That's what I'm talking about. Tall cup of coffee with just the right touch of cream. All in curves, and me with no breaks, coño! Tell me what you looking for. I'll give it to you, mama."
Sorry, but I ain't old or ugly enough to be your mama,
she snapped back, pushing him aside to enter the building. Walls were covered in chip paint and caked on filth. Lobby stunk of an atrocious odor of urine. Flames from the crack pipes provided the only source of light in this dismal setting. 3 drug dealers stepped down the raggedy lobby staircase, the self-proclaimed landlords of the building. Most of their sales were made elsewhere, but a handy portion of their product was kept on them for emergencies. When the product runs out and addicts start begging for more, these 3 dealers want to be the first to give it to them, for the right price, of course. While the 2 bigger guys stayed in the background sharing a joint, the head dealer, a 5-foot scrawny-looking baldy, looked up at the private eye and said, "You got a lot of nerve showing your face round here, Mercedes."
You got a lot of nerve showing your face anywhere.
She snapped again. Background dealers reached for their weapons, but the boss waved them off. Check this out, he clapped his hands together. You ought to be grateful we don't split your wig right now. Talk to me like that again, and that'll change real quick, you heard? Your boy Tyrone is the only reason you're still breathing. He and I got an understanding. I'll tell him what he needs to know, and he stays out of my business. Know what that means? You ain't welcome here.
Whatever arrangement you have with Tyrone doesn't have a damn thing to do with me. With that said, where is he?
Where is who?
Do you really want to go there?
The short dealer giggled relentlessly as if he heard the funniest joke ever. Turned to his boys and heckled, "Man, this chick be bugging, yo!" He faced Natalie. "Are you smoking the la-la? Check it out. There's a nice little dark corner over there with your name on it. Be our guest. Need some more?" He slapped his chest. "Your man'll hook you up. I got the good to have you skywalking for weeks, you heard?" His boys held back their guffawing, trying not to cough out the weak smoke. Natalie took a deep breath and asked again,
Where is the cop?
The three dealers paused. "Don't know what you're talking about," the short dealer uttered. "Better get up out of here with that." Natalie smiled. His hesitation was the proof she needed.
Okay, now comes the fun part. We can do things the easy way or we can do things the hard way. Which way would you prefer?
The dealer whipped out his pistol and aimed it at Natalie's chest. "Wanna say that again? Wanna tell me about the hard way before I blow your brains out?" She slapped away his wrist and twisted it like a bottle cap, forcing him to drop the gun. She then bent his arm behind his back into a chicken wing.
Who else wants to know about the hard way?
She grunted while slapping on a rear naked chokehold. Looking at their boss flapping around and sobbing like a lawyer behind bars, the background dealers dropped their weapons and ran back upstairs.
I'm only gonna ask you one more time.
She tightened her grip. "Where is the damn cop?" She eased off the pressure, but his constant sobbing made it hard to understand what he was saying. He up there, yo, on top, in the back, aight? I'm sorry, man. Just let me go. Just let me go, aight? Natalie slammed him down to the floor and said,
Thanks for your cooperation. I'll tell Tyrone you said hello.
The sixth floor was just as hideous as the lobby, polluted with empty pipes and rusty needles. Junkie-filled apartments were seen from every door she passed down the narrow hallway. Her eyes got adjusted to the dark, but still had trouble weeding out Officer Crass through the sea of addicts. She figured his pudgy structure should stick out like a sore thumb unless he was dumb enough to still be wearing his uniform. Since Midget Scarface downstairs said that Don was in the back, Natalie assumed he meant the last apartment at the end of the hallway. She'll start her search there. Going from room to room, an overwhelming sight of lost souls wasting their lives away, both young and old. Convulsion fits, sleepwalking. How can they show loyalty to a substance they'll die from in a year? What bad experience has happened in their lives to make them want to further punish themselves? She wished that she could talk some sense into them, but they'd be too far gone to listen. More of the same behavior spotted in the kitchen, bathroom, and small bedroom, but the master bedroom was unusually quiet. She peeked inside. It looked to be a heavy-set fella asleep on a bed covered with dirty blankets. Dark-colored shirt sleeves. Could be black, navy blue. Is that him? Natalie crept into the room and pulled back the covers, unveiling a greasy mechanic sleeping next to a hooker. Her mistake. Suddenly, a pudgy man ran out behind her and swung a splintered piece of wood against her shoulder blades. She collapsed onto the side of the bed, grunting in pain. Wearing a black beanie hat with a matching sweater and decorated in layers of filth was Don Crass. An anxious look on his face, scared, feeling like his last moments of freedom were slipping away. He picked up the private eye by her trench and tossed her into the bathroom. Two addicts were lying in the bathtub, dazed and oblivious to the ongoing ruckus. Natalie rolled around the ceramic tiles, fighting to regain her bearings. Seeing Don towering over her with a ceramic tank lid in his hands, she fired a kick to his gut that knocked him back out to the kitchen. Don rushed to his feet and pushed past the druggies to run out of the apartment. His pudgy body trotted down the stairs as fast as he could. Natalie leapt down a few staircases to catch up. Running down to the third floor, Don failed to see an addict lying across the top step. He tripped over the body and tumbled down to the second floor as if the building was under demolishment. Panting in agony while tasting the dirt-colored floor, Natalie jumped on his back and whipped out her .357 Magnum revolver. She pointed it right between his eyes and said,
"Do you want to know if pigs can fly?"
Her eyes motioned toward the fire escape window inches away. Knowing what the irate private eye had in mind, Don raised his hands in surrender.
"Get up,"
she ordered, keeping her weapon drawn on him while stepping back. As Don slowly climbed against the banister, Natalie got out her cell phone and speed-dialed Jill. "Are you gonna bust me?" Don shakingly asked.
"I'm gonna bust your ass if you ever pull another stunt like that again."
Jill answered the call.
"Hey, need another favor from you." "What's up?"
said Jill.
"Always willing to help. I need you to find a spot in the Bronx where I won't see a cop for miles." "Sure thing. Also, inform Tyrone to stay away from Fordham Road for a few days." Okay. Is there a reason why you can't tell him that yourself?" "Not sure if he'll want to talk to me after finding out I just beat down one of his informants." "Oh, I see. I'll get right on it."
Chapter 37. Natalie felt like a lab rat in a maze, driving through the winding roads of the Norwood section of the Bronx. 90 minutes had passed since finding Don Crass, most of it spent looking for a mundane Jamaican bar on Webster Avenue called Buster and Brown's. Jill said no cop would dare, with no less than 10 men fully armed. Grungy conditions out front, dim lighting inside, mellow mood, smothering Caribbean memorabilia, pumping reggae music. Very few customers at this time. The perfect place to sit down and talk. Natalie and Don took the last booth toward the back of the bar. 2 cold bottles of Red Stripe sweated on the table. Don looked like a pervert caught in the girl's bathroom. Flushed cheeks, bewildering eyes, and trembling. Part of him wished he stayed at the precinct and got arrested with his crew. At least he wouldn't be alone.
"Have I made a terrible mistake?"
Natalie thought, reading Don's clueless demeanor. She had to cut him loose before his problems became hers, which was the last thing she wanted. Then again, he's been running for days now. Maybe he's just scared.
"I wouldn't trust me either if I was him."
Feeling uncomfortable being stared at without uttering a word, Don cleared his throat and asked, "Since you're not arresting me, then you must be here to kill me, right? So what are you waiting for?"
I'm not gonna kill you.
Natalie answered. I suppose you wouldn't tell me if you were.
I would. Trust me.
Do you work for John Hart?
No, I don't work for that piece of An internal affairs agent was killed a few days ago, and you're going to help me find a scumbucket who did it.
What makes you think I can help you? Most captains I know wouldn't have crossed that line and done something so reckless and stupid.
Maybe so, but I bet you have a good idea as to who may have orchestrated the hit. Now start talking.
Don got a good look at Natalie and recognized her for the first time. He tightened his eyes and moved in a bit closer. You're that private eye from Brooklyn. Mercedes, right? Natalie was unmoved. Christ, I heard your name plenty of times in Captain Randall's office. He wanted you dead for interrupting his class fluctuation from the street dealers in your district.
What stopped him from trying?
Hart wouldn't honor his request. He didn't give a damn what Randall wanted, or any of us for that matter. Whenever Hart told us to jump, our job was to ask how high. That's it. I should have transferred out to 14th when I had the chance, but the money was too good to pass up.
Yeah, right. Spitting on your oath for a couple of extra bucks. Great choice. Look at you now. Spending the rest of your life running and facing inevitable death from the first cop who lays their eyes on you. Banks are probably on high alert, so you can't even withdraw that supposed good money you spoke about. I hope it was worth it.
Who the hell are you to judge? What makes you think that you're any better than me, huh?
I am better than you. Your love for the green must have started 5 years ago, swallowing that garbage of a revolution, right? Guys in my precinct gobbled up the same nonsense. Rise up against the machine, blah, blah, blah. But did I follow the crowd? No. I turned in my badge and got the out of Dodge, gathered all the resources I could, and then started serving justice my way.
What the hell do you want from me, Mercedes?
A name, place, anything I can use to bring Hart down. Concrete evidence that'll hold up in a court of law. Do that for me, and maybe I'll get you out of town. You tell me nothing, you get nothing.
Don buried his head in his palms, not knowing what to do.
You hit me with a damn Ronin beam, and yet you're still breathing. I even bought you a beer on top of that. I'd say you owe me one.
Loyalty was now meaningless. The officer inside Dawn wanted to help obtain justice, but fearfully thought of a bullet flying through his brain the moment he opened his mouth. Hart didn't kill the agent, he said timidly, but I have a strong feeling who did.
I'm listening.
You have to know what you're up against first. News reports say Hart worked undercover to bring down the Pagnucci family. That's a lie. Hart was put in that situation by the hierarchy in law enforcement, namely internal affairs. They set up every one of Hart's operations with purposed intentions to bring down every crime family that posed a threat. Why? Because they knew the people would turn toward the mafia as the city's last line of defense if cops ever got organized. Have you ever wondered why organized crime still exists? The cops run it now.
So all cops are crooked.
Right now, I'd say it's about 50-50. But with the steam Hart's picking up, along with top government agents backing his every play, those numbers will soon be lopsided. It's only a matter of time before city officials declare martial law on these streets. Nothing would move unless they allowed it.
Back to the hit on Martha. I get why he ordered the hit, to avoid his cover being blown, but you alluded to someone else making the kill.
John never offs anybody himself. This way there'll be no shred of evidence to implicate his involvement. He cleared his throat, becoming timid again. He has a contract killer in his inner circle. A ninja without the black outfit. I heard the police reports say your agent friend was brutally murdered, shot multiple times, and crushed by a train.
How do you know that?
Don showed a police radio holstered on the side of his baggy pants. Since I'm off the grid, I've been able to keep this baby on without being traced, which also explains why I've eluded the cops thus far. Whenever they got hot on my ass, I moved to the next county.
Go on.
Once I heard them say motorcycle tracks were found at the crime scene, I already knew who was responsible. Only one killer I know who's able to appear and disappear at will without leaving a shred of evidence or witnesses. Cat Strutter.
Where can I find him?
You can't. By the way, it's her.
Whatever! Where can I find her?
Doesn't work that way. She never meets her clients. It's kind of like ordering a pizza. You make the call, the order gets passed, and the job gets delivered. No matter how long you hunt these streets, you're not going to find her. She needs to come to you. That's the only prayer you have in catching that broad. Like how you work above the law to seek justice, the same rule applies to Strutter.
What do you mean by that?
Cat Strutter is a cop. Chapter 38.
What the hell have I gotten myself into?
Natalie thought. She thought she'd feel vindicated after getting the truth out of Don. Wrong. She felt worse. An entire police force may have to be brought down to avenge Martha. Such an impossible feat can't be accomplished alone. For his cooperation, Natalie kept her word and offered to help him hide. But where? Going back to the crack house would be a death trap. Stashing him in her place would be even worse.
Use your head, girl. Forget for a moment that your quest for revenge had become a suicide mission swirling in controversy.
Traffic moved smoothly, so she had time to explore the neighborhood. If only there was a safe house where she can stay until she scraped up some extra cash.
Lord, please show me a sign.
She whispered in prayer. Dawn lied across the back seat of Natalie's vehicle. Distraught, disgusted, the last days of life would be spent running and hiding like a fugitive. Money was his motivation to work with heart, but now he can't use that money during his time of need. To answer Natalie's question from earlier, it wasn't worth it. Natalie made a right turn on Arthur Avenue and parked in front of a red brick fortress that occupied most of the block. Don looked sheepishly at the subtle sign hanging over the front doors. Inner Life of Holy Worship Church. On the roof sat an 8-foot cross that cast a large shadow across the neighborhood on a sunny day. "You expect me to stay in a church?" he hesitantly asked.
Not exactly what I had in mind,
said Natalie. She then pointed across the street. There it is, the safe haven she prayed for. A homeless shelter named The Nest. Can there be a more perfect name? Natalie got out of the car and felt confident she was doing the right thing.
I take it you're more comfortable with this place?
She asked. Don nodded. He seemed more at ease while looking over his new temporary place of residence. Nothing but old folks on the porch, immigrant families walking down the block, and a couple of druggies coming in and out of the building. He should be safe for a few days, as long as he kept out of sight.
Cop activity around here is very low,
she mentioned.
I'd be shocked if the mayor knew this neighborhood actually existed. I don't know the Bronx well, but there's something about this place that just feels right. Like I was meant to bring you here.
You don't mean I'm staying here permanently, do you? He doubted.
Better than the crack house, isn't it? Besides, I just need to keep you hidden until I can think of a plan to get you out of town.
You do that for me?
I'm a woman of my word, Don. You gave me some valuable information, so I'm gonna help you, just like I promised. But once you leave the city, you're on your own. I could give you some places to check out in Jersey, but that's just about it. My suggestion would be to go as far out west as possible. I doubt Hart has any stroke past the tri-state area.
He doesn't, but the guys he works for do. The things they've put together in a short amount of time tell me they have zero tolerance for failure. They got their stuff together, Mercedes, tightly knit at the seams.
And that's why I'm telling you to not even stick your head out of the window to stare at the sunshine. Hear me? I'll be back in a few days, and we'll make your escape plan then.
Thank you, Mercedes. I mean that. Natalie nodded and motioned for him to check in. As Don opened the door, he made a stammering attempt to apologize for attacking her earlier. She waved him off and gave him a yeah until he stepped into the building. Thanks to Don, Natalie now knows what kind of demented people are involved with this scandal. She had a lot of planning to do in a short amount of time. First, get Don out of town, and second, find Cat Strutter. No matter how long it takes or how difficult it may seem, she swore to bring every last one of them down for Martha. Chapter 39. Natalie purchased a bus ticket to Kansas City the next morning. Her next move was to get Dawn to Port Authority and out of New York as early as possible. She also wrote down the address of another homeless shelter called Hope and Faith. Mid-South would be a perfect place for Dawn to stay off the radar. Maybe he'll find a job off the books and decide to start a new life there. Or perhaps he can save some money and travel out of the country, like Mexico or Cuba. Approaching Arthur Avenue, Natalie grew worried at the sight of yellow caution tape blocking off the street. New York's finest from the 66th precinct fended off a large crowd of onlookers. Playing it safe, Natalie made a broken U-turn and parked a block away.
Whatever you do, Don, please stay inside.
Walking closer to the ruckus, she noticed a broken glass in front of the Inner Life of Holy Worship Church. Blood spatter on the sidewalk. EMTs wheeled out a body bag on top of a gurney. Natalie pushed past the spectators and ducked under the yellow tape, hoping her worst fear hadn't come true. Just then, Officer Zach Metzger, assigned to handle crowd control, stood in her way with his arms spread open.
I need to see the body,
She insisted, but the officer demanded she turn back.
I think that's a friend of mine. Would you please get out of my way?
Officer Metzger still refused.
Get out of my way, damn it!
Natalie pushed him aside, and Metzger grabbed her arm, preventing her from going any further. She tugged and pulled away, but the officer was latched onto her like an octopus. "Hold it! Hold it!" yelled another officer from afar. He was about the size of two men, but had a friendly smile that could light up the cloudiest day. His hands were as big as oven mitts with the complexion of a leather glove.
"I'll take it from here, Metzger. Why don't you go down the block and handle the news crews?"
Natalie yanked her arm away from the officer and coldly stared. Metzger saluted before walking away. Natalie turned her attention to this big man that intervened. She tightened her eyes. He looked familiar. Of course, it was Warren Sutter, an old friend from her days of patrolling the streets of Brooklyn. He, too, was a friend of Martha's. However, she chose to keep her death a secret, or else they would spend hours reminiscing about old times. Hours were the last thing that needed to be wasted.
"Natalie!"
said Warren with an ear-to-ear grin.
Warren?
She gasped.
How you been, big guy?
She stretched her arms up to hug him.
Still see you're big as a house. What you doing round here?
"Ah, nothing. Just laying my thing down in these streets, you know. However long it takes for these knuckleheads to wise up, I'll still be here to give them trouble.
Warren looked at her and smirked.
Still looking as fine as ever, I see. So, how you've been doing?
Pretty much the same. Why did you transfer up here from the BX? Did you buy a house or something?
Nah, I split from our department shortly after you did. Guys started talking nonsense about getting paid more and exacting revenge and all that. I gave them the lowdown about us protecting the public and honoring the colors we sport on this job every day, but they weren't trying to hear that. Gave me an eerie feeling, you know. That ain't what I signed up for. So I decided to come back here to my hometown where I can make a difference.
Amen.
What was that scuffle all about with Metzger?
Nothing. I was just tripping, that's all. I brought a friend of mine to the shelter across the street yesterday, and for a moment, I thought that could be him in that body bag.
She shook her head and chuckled.
A momentary freak out on my part, I guess.
Warren raised an eyebrow.
Why would you think he'd be dead at a crime scene?
Paranoia, I guess. You see, he's not from round these parts. What happened anyway?
I won't bother you with the gory details, but it appears to be a case of murder and attempted robbery. Not sure how it happened, though. DTs and CSI are on their way to investigate.
Has anyone from the shelter been out here?
Nope. Got the whole block sealed. No one gets out, and nobody's coming in. Maybe your friend is still stuck inside. I can walk you to him if you want.
Even with Warren being an old friend, Natalie couldn't afford to trust anybody.
That's okay.
She brushed off.
Guess I'll check on my friend later after the dust settles. At least I know he's safe in there. I better go. You take care of yourself, big man.
You know where I am now, Nat. If you ever need me for anything, I'm here for you.
I appreciate that.
Natalie retreated through the crowd and headed back to her car. Guessing no news was good news, she decided to wait until the crowds dispersed. Robbing a church? Who would do something so ludicrous and then be killed for it? Must have had valuable artifacts or something. If Don did what she told him to do, then perhaps he ran under the closest bed once the chaos started. At least that's what she hoped. From out of nowhere came a strung-out young man, dressed like a high-fashion thug, very artificial. He crept next to her and hissed, "Come here, Ma. Let me talk to you for a minute." Without stopping, Natalie sarcastically replied,
Call my office and make an appointment.
"Nah, I'm on the real, Ma. I saw you arguing with that cop."
Yeah, well, I don't sign autographs.
"Them cops don't know a damn thing, but I see things round here, you heard? Learn some stuff by watching TV.
Good for you. Can you count from A to Z as well?
You're here for that white boy cop, aren't you?" Natalie stopped.
I saw you bring him here last night. Crash, right? Everyone's looking for him, escaping that raid and all that.
Natalie grabbed him by his shirt and dragged him into the alley. She flung him against a brick wall and pressed the shirt collar up against his throat.
Who are you?
She threatened.
Who sent you?
The thug gagged for air.
You better talk to me, or else I'll snap your neck like a twig.
"Nobody, I swear," he gagged. "I work for no one, yo. I just see things. I can help you, lady. Help you." She released his shirt, and the thug quickly inhaled for air. He massaged his throat and held on the wall for balance. Giving him a minute to catch his breath, Natalie glanced out at the street. No sign of any cops.
Where do you live?
She asked.
I ain't got no home.
He coughed.
Been staying in that shelter for a hot minute. Best place for me to handle my business without being seen or heard from. Look, I don't want your damn life story. Just tell me what you know.
Alright. Last night, I was chilling with my boys out in front of the shelter, and that white boy came looking out the window. I offered him a puff, but he was like, nah. Then we heard glass breaking across the street, and these guys ran out that church.
Guys?
Yeah,
Few of them, carrying these big-ass bags like Jay-Z packing for a world tour. Then your man Crash ran out like a superhero, yelling at them to stop.
He ran out there? Alone?
Yeah, he went for self, yo.
Damn it!
She pressed one side of her head and sighed.
What else happened?
Them guys bum-rushed him, but your man did his thing. He gave him the hands and laid them cats out, bobbing and weaving like Sugar Ray, yo.
Wait, are you telling me he foiled the robbery?
Yes. After that, this husky broad on a motorcycle stopped right in front of them. She stepped up with some old Crocodile Dundee-looking knife and just started slicing cats for no reason.
A blonde chick?
Yeah, man. She got Schwarzenegger arms as big as my legs, yo. Ugly as hell, too.
What did Grass do?
She hoped to hear that he ran back inside.
He must have known that broad because he grabbed the thief's gun and started blasting, popping mad slugs in the chest, shooting without stopping.
Was she hurt?
Nah, that's what bugged me out. She ain't drop at all. Hell, she acted like that didn't hurt.
Natalie was shocked.
Y'all boy beat the hell out of her. Whatever he got his hands on, garbage cans, bottles, even a damn steel rod, none of them shits worked.
The thug shook his head.
She then took out a big-ass blade and sliced his chest in half, then chopped his head clean off.
Natalie facepalmed, holding back the tears. She felt guilty for not getting him out of town sooner.
You alright, lady?
Yeah.
She said, wiping her eyes.
What happened to the thieves?
Man, them dudes hauled ass, bleeding like stuck pigs, 'cause she started slicing them up too. Then a car and a Jeep swerved onto the scene. They scooped up the bags and split, and that's all I know.
She took out the bundle of money intended for Don and stuffed it in the thug's hand.
Forget you saw me.
Pacing back to her car, Natalie felt stress run up her neck. Her eyes watered.
I'm sorry,
She whispered. Based on the thug's story, Don died a hero. He also died at the hands of Cat Strutter. 2 murders under her watch. Sorrow turned to anger.
no more.
Chapter 40. Night skies arrived. Streets fell silent. News crews are gone. Natalie opened her eyes, still inside her car, thinking, what will be her next move? Don's family. They had to know. Will they even care? No. Don't lose focus. First, get Strutter, then bear condolences. Was that thug telling the truth? Can there be another witness? Perhaps a member of the church? There's got to be more. She had to know, for Don's sake. What was that? Sounded like screaming coming from afar. Natalie got out of her car and paced toward the alleyway. Was someone in trouble? A woman. She looked down the deathly darkness and saw no one. Was she hearing things? Nerves might be messing with her mind, overwhelmed by too much death. Garbage cans tumbled out to the sidewalk, and the blonde woman collapsed in front of her, panting and pleading for help.
Are you okay?
Natalie consoled, offering to help her up. The woman then intently grabbed her arm, squeezing so tight that her nails nearly tore through the private eye's coat. So strong, Natalie couldn't pull away. Blonde hair plopped to the ground as the woman revealed her grueling demonic face with sunken red eyes and an alligator mouth. She growled like a mad dog as flesh melted over her skull like candle wax. Echoes rang in her ear as Natalie jumped up from the driver's seat. Imprints from the car horn branded on her forehead. Worriedly, she checked her arms for claw marks. Nothing there. It was just a nightmare, but it felt so real. A face-to-face meeting hasn't happened yet, but Natalie knew in her heart what Cat Strutter looked like. She ran her fingers through her hair and took deep breaths, regaining composure. The sun dipped lower into the horizon. Arthur Avenue had cleared out. Groggily, she stepped out of the car and stretched the tiredness out of her body. Time to get back to work. Lives need to be avenged. Walking toward the front steps of the church, she approached a plain-clothed older man sweeping the walkway.
Excuse me,
She asked. The man turned around with a welcoming smile.
if it's not too much trouble, may I ask you a few questions about the robbery last night?
Are you a reporter? The man asked. No. You look more like a person who fights for people, not ratings. I am the head pastor of this institution of worship. My name is Matthew Good. And you are?
Natalie Mercedes, private detective. Nice to meet you.
The pastor climbed up the stairs and held open the door. Natalie took a peek inside and thought the church looked in great condition despite just being vandalized. Rows of padded seats filled the auditorium. Musical instruments decorated the stage, replacing the traditional setup of pews, organs, and an altar. She was taken aback by its wholesome presence, seeing it as a haven. Now, young lady, what is troubling you? The pastor asked while escorting her inside. He then offered her a seat in the front row. You claim to be here in regards to last night's robbery. He tightened his eyes. I sense, however, that your concerns are more personal. Am I right?
You read me like a book.
Natalie admitted.
Are you psychic? Hola, I didn't mean that. Psychics and tarot card readers usually possess demonic traits and stuff like that, right?
In most cases, it's probable. However, God does sometimes bless people with special gifts to help certain destinies to be fulfilled, even if not their own. God has a plan for all of us, and those plans are meant to give us hope. We all have a destiny, Miss Mercedes, but only the ones with a willing heart will have the chance to experience the wonder of God's power, enabling you to do amazing things in your life.
With all due respect, Pastor, that's not for everyone. My cousin gave 10 years of her life to serve justice and help people. All this while enduring a terrible marriage just to be brutally murdered by a psychopath. Was it her destiny to die for doing the right thing? How can you explain that?
The pastor concentrating on using the right words to help her understand. This may not be what you want to hear, Miss Mercedes, but by your cousin's act of courage and heart of righteousness, God has already rewarded her in the kingdom of heaven. However, the enemy is powerful in this world. I can see she carried a string of emotions like a noose around her neck. The enemy will do whatever it takes to tear you away from your faith, then use every resource possible to destroy you. Don Crass drowned in guilt for being a dirty cop. He thought he lived a meaningless life and was destined to die a failure. And then he met you. Natalie was shocked. How could he have known about the both of them, and so well? You showed Mr. Crass that there are still trustworthy people left in this world, which reminded him of why he became an officer in the first place. He didn't want to die a criminal. The robbery was his swan song. Although tragic, he died a happy man. She gasped. And as for Miss Combs, she was dripping with God's favor, a true child of the light. Losing custody of her son made her also lose faith. Her light then faded. Instead of honor, her job became a burden. A workaholic sounds like an alcoholic, correct? Both use an excessive amount of substance to mask their pain. I'm sure you've noticed her change in demeanor after speaking to her for so long. She regrettably nodded. Martha was an open target. It wasn't until she crossed John Hart that the enemy knew of her existence. However, I do believe that God used her death to give birth to a divine movement. A change is coming. Both you and I are about to witness a miracle. Natalie froze. Under the span of a minute, Pastor Good knew everything about her. She even blinked a few times from believing in seeing a faint glow around his body. Find peace in knowing that Miss Combs did God's work to the best of her ability. She's now in a better place.
Then it's only a matter of time before death comes for me.
She worried. You are a warrior, Miss Mercedes. Respectfully, much stronger than your cousin. You are about to do something great. Monumental. Just stay on the path. Keep your eyes and ears open and remember this conversation whenever you feel like straying away. I wish I can give you the exact details about last night's robbery, but we both know who's responsible for Don Crass's murder, don't we?
How do you know these things?
Angels watch over all of us, Miss Mercedes. Please stay faithful. When they find you, and they will eventually, you'll have all the power you'll ever need to confront them. You're one of God's warriors now. They don't stand a chance. Remember that.
I will, Pastor.
Chapter 41. Natalie exited the church feeling numb. Her quest for revenge had been taken to a whole new level. John Hart and his army were more malicious than she thought. He was a man with a devilish heart, but aligned with real devils? That's not something she can just stomach. Fear told her to walk away, but anyone who knew Natalie Mercedes would agree on one point. Fear is just a 4-letter word. Halfway down the stairs, she looked up at the big cross on the roof and had faith that justice would come for her family. Pastor Good had such an amicable persona, even if his divine narration sounded a bit out of reach. She just needed strength from the Lord to outlast this cat-and-mouse game.
Are they closed?
She heard someone ask. Startling out of her train of thought, she turned around and saw Gina Vasquez standing by the bottom of the stairs with both totes held by her sides.
Sorry if I scared you. No, not at all.
Natalie answered.
Yes, they're still open. Thank God. I've been rolling these anvils around for hours now. My arms feel like they're about to fall off.
Gina made her way up the steps while lugging the bags behind her.
Don't have time to think about the pain when my mind's been traveling a zillion places at once. Girl, you ain't gotta tell me. I'm on one of those acid trips myself. More than you can imagine. That remains to be seen, but I'll take your word for it.
She noticed Natalie looked distracted.
Are you alright? Yeah, I'm good. It's just one of those days when you think you have enough strength to stand tall and face diversity head on, only to have something else come along and pull the rug from underneath your feet. Hurts even more when you have your feet planted firmly on the ground. You start to wonder what you stand for. Been there before. Did Pastor Good give you bad news? Oh no, not from him. He brought my problems into the light. Such a wise and humble man. That he is. Glad the changing of the times hasn't changed him. This is what he does. I'm Gina, by the way. Gina Vasquez.
She extended her hand.
Natalie Mercedes.
She replied, accepting the handshake.
Cool name. Cool piece.
Natalie caught a glimpse of Gina's badge clipped to her belt.
You a cop? Not in this town. I'm a sheriff in New Mexico, but I used to work for the NYPD. Ain't that a kick in the head? I also work for the NYPD. Quit about 5 years ago. No kidding. That's the same time I left. Are you serious? Yes. I left because, well, that's not important. Wow. It baffles my mind how we're meeting like this. Yeah,
Natalie recalled Pastor Good's word about a movement being formed. Was there a message being told that she wasn't reading? What does this meeting signify? Could this red-headed Latina be an ally in the future? She had to keep some form of contact just to be sure,
silly me. I'm proudly holding you up.
Gina said.
I have to see Pastor Good before he leaves for the day. I hope he helped you as much as he's helped me over the years. He did,
said Natalie.
My family's going through a rough period and I'm sorry. I don't normally invite strangers into my life, but I feel like you can trust me? Yeah.
Gina chuckled.
It's funny because I sense the same thing about you. Maybe it's fate. Check this out.
Natalie handed Gina her business card.
In case you ever want to get into the private eye game or share old police stories, give me a ring. Thanks. Good meeting you, Gina.
Same here, Natalie.